Russian President Vladimir Putin named a new Ukraine war commander on Sunday. The Russian general appointed by Vladimir Putin to lead efforts to restart the invasion of Ukraine was an integral player in Syria war, where army units under his command were responsible for mass abuses against civilians and were frequently charged with crimes against humanity. General Aleksandr Dvornikov, 60, has been perceived as an old-school general and a blood and soil nationalist, having actually trained in Soviet military doctrines that view destroying civilian targets as a method of obtaining battlefield momentum. He is a career military officer who began as a platoon commander in 1982 and has steadily risen through the ranks. He fought in Chechnya's Second War and rose through the ranks before being assigned command of Russian troops in Syria. In September 2015, Putin dispatched Dvornikov on an urgent mission to stabilize the position of Syrian regime forces, which Tehran and Moscow believed were on the verge of falling to the opposition. The course of action to implement new battlefield leadership in Ukraine comes as Russia prepares for what is predicted to be a massive and more concentrated push to widen Russian control in the Donbas region, and it comes after a failed opening attempt to conquer Kiev, Ukraine's capital. Dvornikov quickly established an airbase near Syria's northwestern coast, from which bombers annihilated towns and cities throughout Idlib province. The fall of Syria's second city, Aleppo, was largely the result of Russian airstrikes, which were launched from the Humeim base and routinely targeted hospitals, schools, bread lines, and other civilian infrastructure. He installed anti-aircraft batteries, giving Russian and Syrian jets air superiority over Idlib, and destructive bombing runs have been carried out with impunity for the past 5 years. Several fighter pilots who participated in the Syrian war were shot down over Ukraine. Dvornikov was also in charge of Russia's campaign against the Islamic State in Syria's east. Russian propaganda strived to merge the two conflicts, claiming that both factions were fighting the same enemy. Putin intervened in Syria under the guise of fighting terrorists besieging the country. However, Russia's initial airstrikes did not target Islamic States or a second jihadi group, Jabhat al-Nusra, which was operating in Idlib at the time. Rather, they targeted opposition groups whose attacks on Syrian armored columns had severely weakened Bashar al-Assad's grip on the Alawite heartland, and thus Damascus. The Russian attack shifted the tide of the war in Assad's favor. The war of narrative also nudged in favor of Assad, with far less scrutiny paid to Russian denials that it was targeting civilian infrastructure to terrorize populations into submission, and sympathy in many quarters for the two leaders' assertions that the conflict against Assad was led by jihadists rather than insurrectionists. Putin regarded Russia's Syrian campaign as a success, and he awarded Dvornikov the Hero of Russia Medal, one of the country's highest honors. Russia lost very few troops or aircraft during the war and was able to maintain air superiority throughout. Dvornikov, the commanding officer of the Southern Military District since 2016, confronts a very different set of challenges in Ukraine, where the Russian Air Force does not control the skies and its ground forces have been severely depleted by frequent supplies of sophisticated weaponry that Syrian rebels did not have. Countering the massive amount of data coming out of the war zone that disproves Russia's claims of battlefield success will be equally formidable. While Syria was once thought to be the best chronicled conflict in modern history, that achievement has been dwarfed by the way smartphones and digital technology have brought the Ukraine conflict to the world's attention. In the meantime, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan stated that he anticipates Russia's recently appointed general in charge of Ukraine, Aleksandr Dvornikov, to plan crimes and brutality against Ukrainian civilians. According to the news agencies, Sullivan did not provide any evidence. As Moscow's military failed to secure Kiev, Russian President Vladimir Putin is bringing in the new army General Aleksandr Dvornikov, commander of Russia's southern military district, to marshal the war in Ukraine. The attacks on Ukraine's key port of Mariupol on the Sea of Azov by Russian forces have destroyed several humanitarian corridors, rendering it extremely difficult for people to flee. According to the Associated Press, it is unclear how many people remained locked in the city, which had a pre-war population of 430,000. Just a day after a missile strike at a train station claimed the lives of over 52 people and injured more than 100, civilian evacuations began in patches of battle-scarred eastern Ukraine.